Janie Molster. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I'm an interior designer. I'm so excited to have you on our House Beautiful home tour today. We're going to give everybody a few more seconds to get logged on. It's an incredibly windy day in Richmond, so I apologize. Once we get inside, you'll be able to hear me, but I did want to start out here because I love the view of our house from the street. We live in sort of an urban part of the city of Richmond where we have churches on cue. The bells are ringing, and schools, and pedestrian restaurants, and all kinds of shopping. So anyway, we'll walk up now. The porch actually was a more recent addition for us a few years ago, and we love it. It's added a whole new dimension to how we live. We're here, I guess really we're out here 3 seasons a year. So anyway, it's been wonderful. And shameless plug for Janie Molster, I just did a blog post on my website about outdoor furnishings, and I sort of used my own guidelines for this area, of course, so check that out on our website. And I'd love to talk about the steel door, but it's so loud out here with the wind. I think we'll do it from the inside, but copper gas lanterns and the steel door were part of our renovation. So come in. Oh my gosh. It's a blustery March day. Anyway, so again, I'm Janie Molster. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I'm an interior designer. So glad to have you all here. And also shout out to my beautiful daughter, who's our videographer. She's home from college, and she's going to help me out today. But we're just really glad to be here. We're so glad we had a reason to get ourselves up, dressed, makeup, and thank you for doing that. But anyway, so maybe Isabel, since we'll go back to the door from inside. So yeah, originally my house was built in 1907, and when we replaced the door, it was actually the original door that, needless to say, we were feeling a little bit of draft around the edges. So we took the transom and the side lights out, and a local manufacturer called Wellborn and Wright fabricated it for us. And we just love the steel. We love the urban farmhouse dynamic that it added. It's been a great addition. So, yes, I'm talking about a focal point. So, a focal point in our foyer has been the secretary, and it was really, I think, one of the first antiques I ever bought. I love it, and that's really the takeaway here is, I always tell my clients when they're buying something important or investing in something to buy it because you love it. Don't buy it because it fits a spot. I've lived in multiple houses, and this piece has been in a position of prominence, but also been tucked away in the corner of a guest bedroom. But the point being, if you love it, you'll find a home for it. And also, please feel free to pop in with questions. We're going to do our very best to get you answered, and we'd love for you to weigh in along the way. So another sort of, I guess, important design element here is the gallery wall. And I love to do gallery walls. I think it's a great way to sort of display a lot of artwork and also add the interest of the different frames and the different mediums that the artwork is rendered in. But anyway, this is, I guess what's significant about this one is that there is sort of a harmonious color palette. We've got white and cream and gray and black, and so it's got sort of a unifying element. That's not a requirement. That's just how it worked for us in this. But, and should we zoom in on Robert? This is my second son, Robert. We're going to talk a little bit about portraits as we go and how to incorporate portraits in decor, in your house. So I have 5 children, and they all have a portrait And I get questions about that a lot, and how we work them in without having our house look like the National Portrait Gallery is a bit of a trick.
So who did your door again, Mom?
Oh, Wellborn and Wright, Wellborn. They're based out of Richmond, but they work all over the country. So I guess we'll move into the dining room. And this is probably a good time, Isabel, this is a good expanse of floor space to talk about the floors. I love blonde floors. I've actually done them in a few of my houses. I just love the way it lightens up a room and sort of gives this big, broad, expansive space. I love these floors so much that I've never found a rug for in here that I like quite as much as my floors. So one of the interesting things about the dining room is that this is really a room that is full of antiques. And I think everything in here almost is an antique. But I still feel like it has a little bit of a youthful and maybe slightly funky feeling. It doesn't feel too old school. But I can kind of go through and give you a little bit of detail on that. For example, the chairs are really sort of Biedermeier inspired. They're tiger-eyed maple. And the table is French country from the south of France. I had a great family trip there. And after a wine lunch with my family, my husband gave me 30 minutes to antique before we hopped back in the car. Actually, my daughter-in-law, Janie Molster, who's also an interior designer from Charleston, came with me. And I think in 30 minutes, I filled up half a container. They had so much inventory. The dealers were so lovely to work with. But this was a find. So yeah, sometimes it's just that knee-jerk. You see it, you love it, buy it, which we did. The consoles on either side of that doorway also are from the south of France. And then this is a wonderful Art Deco cabinet that I've loved. I've had forever. This panel looks a little different. Some toddler boy that belongs to me went after it with a hammer one day, but we still love him. And I'd love to give a shout out to the artist who did this totem sculpture. She also did these 3 vessels on the dining room table. I'm always looking for some just fabulous inanimate object that can sit on your dining room table, that doesn't need to be watered, it doesn't need to be changed. And her name is Julie Silvers. She's, as I said, New Orleans, and she does wonderful work, has beautiful paintings as well as her ceramic work. So check her out. Another thing, oh yeah, definitely, thank you.
Everybody's been asking about the ceiling.
Yeah, Isabel is, she's also here to keep me on point as usual. But so the ceiling is a wonderful abstract design that I worked on with my decorative painter, Jeff Ragland from Holtz and Son in Richmond, and it has this great abstract, crazy pattern. And the one, I gave Jeff just a hand drawing of it and said, Jeff, the only thing I really care about is that nothing repeats itself. So he would draw with chalk, and then he would lie on his back on my dining room table, stare at it for 20 minutes, and then he'd hop back on the ladder, draw with chalk some more, and then I would come in and lie on my back on the dining room table and sign off. But anyway, we got it done, and I just loved it. And then I also, we're always in the design world talking about how to mix in the high and the low. So this paper lantern, there's no fancy Noguchi situation here. I think this maybe was $20 from Party City. I had an antique chandelier here that I loved, but my client loved more than I did. So she has it now, and I kept planning to go to a market or a fair and buy something. Now I'm attached to this Party City thing. Who knows? I guess I'll find something. But anyway, you can mix the high and the low. So I'd love to, yeah, these are just, oh yeah. Okay, I have to talk about her because she gets so much press. She adds so much neighborhood color, but this is a study of a full-size sculpture. Obviously, she's antique, She's from Belgium, and I found her dirty in an outdoor antique market and brought her home. But anyway, I think she's amazing. But at night, when the lights are when our lights are on and it's dark outside, she creates quite a scandalous silhouette. And we're always getting calls about, there's a small naked woman in your bay window. What is happening in there? But anyway, she's darling. So I know that I'm sort of known as the lover of pink. So brace yourselves. This is not a pink room. This is room is done in fine paints of Europe, Holland Lac Brilliant, which is a lacquer paint. And I think I arrived on the green color because this room has a wall of windows on the north and the south, and there's just green everywhere you look. It seemed like a natural choice. So anyway, we love this room. I find, as I'm sure many of you do, that we use our rooms seasonally, and I have to show you one of the reasons why this is such a big hit in our winter season. So shout out to Spark Modern Fires, and they did the insert for our fireplace, and I'll show you how it works. Remote control, which you've got to love, and we turn it on. Oh, okay, here we go. There we go. So it's got this wonderful push button ribbon flame, and these fireboxes heat the room up in seconds. So we enjoy this so much, and today is actually cool, so I'll leave it on. But anyway, this was coined by my mother on a visit as the adult den, because she thought we needed a little place to sort of steal away. And on our first holiday here, I let my boys bring a game system. And 10 years later, they gave up the chaises for me and my husband. So anyway, we love it now. We're using it finally. So this is our living room. And when I say living room, I really mean living room. We live hard in here. It's the hub of family activity. There's sort of three definitive sort of seating areas. This is, I laugh because while this is sort of my desk, this is completely a desk for show. I never, ever sit here. It houses my collection of glass grapes and, the curse of every interior designer, the never-ending stacks of coffee table books. So definitely a pretty little vignette. And this back to, we were talking about portraits. Another portrait of my middle son Pierre, and this is kind of incorporated in a vignette as well, with a landscape at the top, and then the portrait and this wonderful vessel below. So I like to mix them in on occasion. Oh, did we show them John's portrait? You should look at that. That's a more traditional installation. Let's go back and look really quick at that. So you can see here in our piano, that's my oldest son, and he's flying so low, but that's okay. That has to happen sometimes.
So who painted this, Mom?
Oh, Nancy Mauck. She's one of my dearest friends and an amazing portrait artist, M-A-U-C-K. She's based out of Richmond, and I obsessed with her work, really, and she captured him perfectly. This is sort of the first little seating vignette. It's an antique sofa and these Giacometti-inspired floor lamps, which I love. This crazy clock mirror. This sort of takes up the overflow when we have a big dinner. I set up a round table here and bring chairs around. The sofa also serves as seating, and this is sort of where we fill in on bigger groups. So this little area is really the hub of family life. A lot of lounging, a lot of television watching, and I love being here. You can see it's all in solid fabrics, but rather than pattern, the play is really just variation on textures and sort of hues. So anyway, this is, and let's talk about it. If you're really going to live in your room, what is that thing that you kind of have to have? The ugly black rectangle, which we've sort of given up. In our business, we were like, if a television will bring you into the prettiest room in your house, let's put a television in there. I've camouflaged mine somewhat with a pretty cabinet and sconces, but it's there, and yes.
Gotten a lot of questions about this big piece of art on this wall, the artist and what it says.
Okay, I was trying to slip by that without having to talk about it. But this is from the Paige Bond Gallery. She's a wonderful artist, and I love abstracts, and there was an opening there. She's in Richmond, and a friend of mine called me and said, "Are you coming?" And I said, "Yes, I'm definitely coming." And she said, "There's a painting down here with your name all over it. You'll know it's yours when you see it." And I walked in and saw this, obviously titled, "You Always Overdo It," and it landed in my house. She was right. It was perfect, and I guess I do overdo it, but anyway.
And what's the deal with the stripes, the pink stripes on the walls?
Yes, I mean, that's, I'm a big believer in that paint is cheap, and you can create so much personality with paint. So this is sort of, I called the decorative paint over here one day, and we just kind of laid out all kinds of crazy designs. And have fun with paint, because, I mean, we're all stuck at home right now. Do an accent wall, paint a crazy stripe around your room. I mean, it's sort of instant personality, and it's inexpensive too. You can always go back. So our last little seating area in this room is relatively new for our family. We used to have, when our house was featured in House Beautiful last year, we had more traditional 3 kind of chairs here, but we put this sectional in. The sectional and the sofas over there too are all custom by Lee Industries, who is a great partner for us. We love working with them. And anyway, the sectional has really been a big hit for the family. It's sitting on this fabulous Tulu vintage rug, and that's from my friend Elon, and his business is J&D Oriental Rugs in New York. He's an amazing website. You should definitely check him out. And the light fixtures. Thank you, Isabel. These are, I'm obsessed with the light fixtures. People think I had them custom done, but it was in the product line of an amazing artist. Who's no longer working, unfortunately, but the room was largely finished when I found these, and I'm obsessed with them. They're really just multicolored glass crystals, but very Art Deco and very stylish. So I know we're doing a home tour. Oh yeah, thanks. Okay, thank God I have her. But anyway, this is my son Swain, and you can see back the portraits. Like all portraits, find the artist that really reflects your child and their personality. And this is a much more casual Conte crayon drawing by a Richmond artist named Juliet Weeb, who we love. And I just love his stance, and he still looks so defiant. One of my favorites. So even though this is a home tour, we're going to take you outside for a minute, just for a quick peek. So it's spring in Richmond, and not sure where you're viewing from, but if you are in not the southeast, this is what is coming your way. Everything looks so lush right now. And that center area is a parterre garden that we installed about 3 years ago. My local landscape designer, Janet Baruch from Greenway Gardens, helped me with it. And oh my gosh, what 2 or 3 years does with plant material. It's just really come into its own this season, and we're just loving it. But stay tuned for spring if you don't have it quite yet. It's on its way.
This is a great shot of the living room here.
So now we're in the kitchen, and the kitchen, I guess we'll start ground up. So the floors I've moved from washed white stained floors to painted floors in here. And you'll see as you come through, it's some form of white with a meandering gray line that, again, I laid out with my decorative painters who were always game to try something. To start, I guess we'll go with the backsplash with, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes I tire of patterns, so I didn't wrap the stone up or install ceramic tile. This is actually tempered glass that can come in any Benjamin Moore color. And love it. It's very clean. It comes in sheets, and you can do anything you want with it. And then when we were in House Beautiful, the readers loved our wallpapered refrigerator. And this was such an easy thing to do. And there are so many wonderful contract grade, wipeable wallpapers now that can stand up to smudges and food spills. So I definitely encourage everybody, if they have that style of refrigerator, I think our installers were here 11 minutes on that. That was such a quick fix. The other thing that's been so impactful for our family is the original drawings of the room had a center island for the kitchen table, and while that was being designed, I put my dining table in here, and just everybody loved it. They won't get up from here. When they come home, we sit down. I can't get them in there because they love being here. But I will have to say it's so sentimental for me because growing up, I think a lot of us grew up with the kitchen table in the middle of the room. So it reminds me of home and my grandmother's house. So anyway, that's been a big hit for us.
Is the floor wood?
Yes, it's just painted oak flooring. And honestly, people often ask me, how does that hold up? Is it tough? And yes, it's very tough. We try to get industrial paints if we can get our hands on them. But so much of how the paint holds up is how the preparation is done. So if you have a painter, find out if he's actually done painted floors before. And if he has, you can go to the manufacturer's suggestions to get your prep work done correctly. So we have one more little area. And buckle up and put your sunglasses on. Oh yeah, Isabel's reminding me, sorry, thank you. I wanted to, another found item, the original kitchen plans had called for a big wall of pantry cabinets here. And I found this at an antique market, and the only person at my house while I was at the market was a babysitter. She measured 5 times for me, and what happened is, what neither of us realized is the top is separate and needed to be lifted over the lip of the base to fit in. So it didn't fit, but we made it fit, and it will probably never leave. It's here to stay. So this room I love. One of my sons says he finds this room exhausting. And I laugh, like with our clients, we always talk about color tolerance. And mine is obviously very high and his is low. But I had this room painted several years ago, and I was actually out of town. And we were on a trip to Morocco, and I was a little taken aback when I saw it. A little bit brighter than I anticipated. But once we got furniture in here, curtains and rugs, it just quieted down, and I realized it was exactly what I wanted. But ironically, all the rugs that you see on the floor, I bought on my trip, and I grabbed my favorites for here, of course. But this definitely, I must have had Morocco on my mind when I was selecting paint colors. And the ceiling, and I love these Murano glass lamps. They're, certainly elegant. So we tried to dress them down a little bit with raffia shades. And then we also have this beam structure on the ceiling and have raffia wallpaper between the beams. So this room is really, layered with texture, lots of layers. And then back to my obsession with the tall table. And this is when Isabel and I were running through this last night, I said this, and she said, "Oh, Mom, it's true. I sit here all the time. Apparently, I'm the only person in the family that sits here, but I love this nice sunny spot. I love the sort of contrast of this elegant throne chair and this red and white awning fabric, and the tall table above it. Sort of one of my favorite little vignettes in my house. Yes.
So how tall are the ceilings?
In most of the house, they're 9.5. In this room, they're 8.
Okay, and how does your husband feel about all the pink?
My husband loves pink because my husband loves me. So.
And do you have any stories about how we found the rugs?
Yeah, I do.
In Morocco?
Oh, I have a great story actually. This is Instagram should get me to give them this story because it's an incredible marketing tool. But I was in the Atlas Mountains, in a pretty remote location, and I was with Isabel. She knew I was looking for rugs, so we were hiking with a guide, and we saw this shack, and Isabel peeked in and said, "Mom, there's a bunch of rugs in there, and I see some pink ones." So we went to a local establishment, located the owner of the shack. He came down a mountain several hours later. We bought a bunch of rugs, and I posted it on Instagram. Somehow, someone who follows me found the pin, hired a driver in Marrakesh, went back to that shack, and I met her randomly at an event, and she said, "I bought 10 Moroccan rugs because of your Instagram post." So anyway, wonderful story. But we found everything in Marrakesh or the Atlas Mountains, and we really just used word of mouth from guides and friends. And once we got there, we would ask other rug dealers, "Who do you recommend?" So that would be my suggestion. So last but not least, portrait. This is my videographer. And again, in a completely different medium and style. She's very casual at about 11 or 12 at our beach house. And, back to, find the artist whose style looks like your family member, or you have a portrait done of yourself. But find the artist that you think reflects your personality. So we are back in the front hall. Thank you so much for coming. I've actually really enjoyed this after the first couple of rooms. And I hope you'll DM me with your questions. Thanks so much to House Beautiful. I've been following everyone, and I feel like I've met so many cute people, and I've seen so many beautiful houses. They're doing this for the whole month of April at noon. So tune in. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for coming.
You'll be answering DMs all day, right?
I am going to respond to everybody, I promise. Happy Easter, Passover. Thank you.